2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Holy Hour. This is Gavin. We have a very special episode for you today. Actually, we don't have a guest or a conversation or anything. It's just me talking, but I felt like it was necessary to get in touch with everybody out there, because tomorrow, when this airs, tomorrow, May 10th, is the kickoff of The Cure's 2016 World Tour right here in these fine United States in New Orleans. Yep, tomorrow's the big day. So we've been waiting a while for this now, right? I got my tickets, I think, back in November. So that's a long time to build up suspense, man. And it's been a while on top of that since we've seen The Cure or heard any substantial news other than these shows going on sale. So this is crazy. New Orleans is where it's at tomorrow night. As of now, they're playing 2 nights at the University of New Orleans Lakefront Arena, and the second night is sold out. The Cure website has been posting updates on how many tickets are roughly available still and what shows are sold out. It's crazy. A lot of them are already sold out, and that's great to hear that they're really just. People are standing by this and coming to see them. 17 out of 35 is a quick count that I got of how many are sold out. And most of the other ones are all 300 or less tickets left. And these are huge venues, too. These giant pavilions. You can pack so many people in those things. And so it just really says a lot about the band. 37 years in, and they're selling out these mega pavilions and arenas. And of course, why wouldn't you go? This is like the best show of the year, I'm sure. So tomorrow, yeah, it's where it all starts. Like I said, we're going to start seeing a lot of Scoop from here in. It's going to be very exciting to be a Cure fan, and so tempting. Do you check the internet to see Scoop on shows before the one you're going to? I don't know. How awesome would it be to go into your show and have your mind just totally blown by some totally obscure song that they're playing, or and maybe there could be a theme or something going through this set. We really don't know anything about why they're doing this tour, or other than just they're an awesome band and they want to go on tour. But at the same time, this is a pretty massive tour. They're going full on, playing all these spots, all these dates. They even got a whole Australian and European leg throughout the year scheduled in there. It's the kind of thing you definitely do for a new album. So I think everybody was a little, crossing their fingers and holding their breath that something would pop up, at least news-wise, on his birthday. I don't know why. We all just kind of made up that thought that maybe something would appear. But so we're secretly a little let down, but we can't get picky about these kind of things. Like we said, the band's 37 years in. It's amazing they're doing anything. So it's great that they're doing this massive tour. So all we know is that one sentence from the website where it says there'll be something along the lines of they'll be playing 37 years worth of hits, rarities, and as of now unreleased songs. So what does that mean? That's got to be new stuff. So most logically, it's they've got some new material. It's either done and they just want to test it out on the crowd, or they're still recording it, or they're really testing it out on the crowd to see if it's worth recording. So that'll be awesome too. I'd love to hear some new songs. That's always the best, when the first time you hear a song is live and then you hear it on the record months and months later and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that was awesome. So hopefully that'll be the case, but we really don't know. The unreleased songs could be the outtakes from 413 still that he's been talking about forever. So, that'd be cool too. But really, just any excuse to see The Cure. It doesn't really have to be a new album. I think that's great, even if they don't have any new songs. Just, they got so many songs. Could play for 3 hours, and I'm still sure there'll be tons that you'll want to hear that you won't hear. So And how cool is that? I mean, like the idea that they've been doing these super long shows for the last, I don't know, I can't even remember how far back now that since they started doing these at least 2 hour plus shows, and last time I saw them was like 3 hours. That's great. I mean, I totally wouldn't fault them if they just started scaling it back to like hour long shows, but that just says a lot about Robert Smith and the band in general, that they care about the fans getting their money and time's worth, and they just got so many great songs. I mean, a lot of long ones too. So you need to cover a lot of ground. So I don't know. I hope that they stick to that. They said something about like a stage set that's gonna be amazing. I don't know if that's ever like been make or break for me if they have a cool set design, but sure, why not? I don't know what to expect, but going back to my point that the internet, it's a crazy day and age now. As of tomorrow night, as early as tomorrow night, somebody's gonna say these are all the songs they played. Every like crazy secret that gets revealed will be known if we peak. So I don't know. Are there people out there that aren't gonna peak? I don't see how you could not. I wish I had enough willpower, but I think I'm definitely gonna check out some set list and see what I'm in for. It's exciting not to. So I don't know. I hope we're in for some cool themes and new songs, and just even if they just play the damn greatest hits with some rarities thrown in there and some deep cuts, that's all you need. Sounds like a perfect night to me. But yeah, as these stories are trickling in, I think it's great to be doing this podcast at the same time, and I'm really excited to just incorporate that into our episodes. I want to keep things fairly regular here as far as tracking people's Cure stories down, and even if they have nothing to do with the new stuff or the old stuff or whatever. But I definitely want to sprinkle in updates on how this tour is going. So if you've been listening, I'd love to hear your stories of a show. Feel free to record yourself just doing a memo into your phone and then email it to me. We'll incorporate it and put it into an episode. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just a quick, opinion of the show or how it went. That would be cool. Just have little updates. If you don't want to speak or anything, I would rather write something, you can just email it to me and I'll read it for you too. So that'd be cool. I'm kind of along those lines, and I don't know if I'm officially talked to her long enough to disclose it, but I think it's in the works, and we're gonna try to do something. But there's a really cool Cure fan out there that's making a documentary, a Cure fan documentary, and she's been working on it from what I gathered, since the Blood Flowers tour, but I think it goes a lot further back before that, being a Cure fan and stuff, but actual footage that she's, been traveling around and filming stuff and putting it together. And I think the plan is she's going to see a bunch of the shows on this tour too, and either add to that or just further try to get this documentary. It sounds like it's in post-production right now, but it's called Push. And the website is curefandocumentary.com, and I'll put a link for that up at the Facebook. But we've been talking a little bit, and she's going to hopefully report in from the shows like I've been asking you guys to do too, and give us the rundown of what she's seeing out there. And she says she has friends sprinkled around the U.S. that are going to report to her so she can report to us, and we're going to join forces here and try to give you the best Cure coverage of this tour as we can. And she sounds like just the person to do it. I'm really excited, and hope we can get this rolling. And I think her documentary looks amazing too. So check out that website and definitely see what you can do to help as far as donations to get it finished up. Making these films and such get expensive, and distribution and stuff. I'm not sure where she's at exactly with it, but I'm sure she could use a few bucks to make it, fleshed out and get it out there to you guys, because I know I'd love to see it. So along those lines, I was thinking a good way to fill in this episode with some more Cure talking, and since we're on the concert theme, thought I'd do a quick rundown of the Cure's official live albums for you. There really aren't that many. When I looked at the list, it seems like a lot of their live history has been well documented throughout the years. But as far as actual live albums, there's only 5 of them really, and that's weird because they've put out tons of DVDs, live DVDs, and when you look at the whole package, it seems like there's a lot of live stuff out there. Countless bootlegs and such that are fairly easy to track down if you get into that world. I really need to reorganize my bootlegs, by the way. They're a bit messy when I was looking through my files the other night. But yeah, so many great ones out there, spanning the whole spectrum of their career. And but yeah, as far as the actual live albums, there's only Concert, which came out in '84, Entreat, which technically came out in 1990. Show in Paris, which were for the Wish tour in '92, and then the Bestival one that came out in 2011. So I'll do a quick rundown of those, and yeah, like I said, it's weird. And with the deluxe reissues, there's a lot of live stuff on like the bonus discs and stuff with those. But yeah, as far as actual official live albums, just those 5, which is a little surprising when I listed them all out and put them together. But yeah, so quick rundown if you're not familiar with those. I'll just give you the quick review in my opinion for them. I think they're all great. As anyone that's a Cure fan, I think, knows that they're a special live band because they're, one, just amazing live, but 2, they really capture, like, I don't know. I mean, it's almost hard to describe why they're so good live too, because it's not like they're like a huge like pump you up like kind of. I mean, he just gets up there and kind of stands in the same spot, and then nobody's really jumping around a lot besides like Simon maybe, and like, you know, the sets are cool, like I said, and it's just, but for some reason, like the best live band you could think of, and the best I can narrow it down to is that they one, just sound great because of all those like great little elements that make their song so good, all the layers and everything, and then just seeing them do that live, it's like watching like this really intricate machine working at the same time. And but it's cool because they always change it. They don't change it, but it doesn't sound exactly like the recordings, you know? And because it can be kind of a drag sometimes when you see a band and they're too good live, if you know what I mean, like where they sound exactly like the record. It's like, cool, you're able to nail it, but at the same time it's like, it's the same damn thing really. But there's something about, you know, a lot of it I think is just the little phrasings or whatever that Robert will change up the way he sings it a bit, or it just sounds live, you know, and it really doesn't really do it justice. But for some reason, I've just always thought that they, you know, a lot of their songs almost even sound better live. And on these live recordings, you'll kind of see, you know, my opinions of these. But yeah, I mean, and it's just something cool, and I'm glad that they've documented them with the live DVDs and VHSs and such. But we'll talk about those after I do a quick rundown of these albums. So let's start at the top. Oh, almost a pun. In 1984, they put out a live album called Concert, and this was for the Top Tour and their first official live album. And this was a weird one because as a kid, I had trouble tracking this one down. Around, you know, late 80s and such, I couldn't really check it. I had the poster of it, and it said Concert Curiosity, and I could never figure out what the curiosity part of it was. And I eventually got the CD, and it's just a 10-track live album, which is always a little underwhelming too at that point, like having seen In Orange and stuff, and 10 tracks out of a Cure live show is just kind of a small snippet, really, you know? And yeah, so I wasn't ever blown away by this one, but it was cool to hear it live. And eventually found out that the cassette of it, the B-side, is the Curiosities part. And I never had the cassette, but it had rarities on it, and that was the Curiosity part, I guess. And a lot of those have resurfaced on the bonus disc of the reissues in recent years here. So yeah, it's basically Concert was on the first side of the cassette, and then the Curiosities part, which would be cool to track that down, even though just for collector's reasons. But anyway, the concert part of it's real good. It's the lineup from '84, which is kind of a weird Cure lineup with Andy Anderson on drums, no Simon on bass. There's a very short blip in the Cure's history there that doesn't have Simon. Phil Thornley's playing bass. First appearance of Porl on guitar and keyboard and sax. And it's basically what you would expect from an '84 set list. Track listing being Shake Dog Shake, Primary, Charlotte Sometimes, Hanging Garden, Give Me It, The Walk, 100 Years, Forest, 10:15, and Killing an Arab. Surprisingly, no Boys Don't Cry on there, which is a little weird. But yeah, pretty cool. And it kind of, you see it as a precursor to In Orange almost, like in Head on the Door, in the sense that they're definitely getting sharper live at this point, and getting away from like the gloomy era. There's, aside from Primary, there's nothing really heavy faith related, even Pornography, although a bit surprising that Hanging Garden's on there, because that was one they don't do live a ton, I'd say. Maybe around this time more frequently, but 100 Years is always fairly much a staple, but yeah, for the most part it's kind of like a In Orange snippet without the Head on the Doorness to it. So yeah, it's cool. I definitely recommend it, but wouldn't say it's probably their best live one, in my opinion. So moving on from that, we don't have an official live release until Entreat, which came out in '90, and that one's kind of weird because it's all Disintegration stuff. And this one was kind of weird too. I didn't have an official. It had like a strange release where it was only like a import. You could only get it as like an import CD, and then like pieces of it, different variations of the tape, I guess, and officially came out again as a bonus disc on the reissue of Disintegration, which was awesome. They included that and the whole basically version of it's just all Disintegration live, which is really cool. The original release of Entreat left out about 4 songs, I think. So it left out like Lullaby and Plain Song and a few others. It's cool, and it was great because that's like the Cure totally hitting their stride for the Disintegration tour. Just amazing live sets. I mean, that album is just so intricate and like layered beautifully, and I mean, just as an album, it's such a complete piece of art, and then just seeing them being able to nail it live, there's no hiccups in the guitar parts and all the billion little riffs going on and stuff. I mean, they're just fucking killing it at this point, and it sounds amazing. There's a few on Entreat that are arguably kind of cooler than the Disintegration, and considering it's definitely my favorite Cure album and a lot of other people's, so that says a lot. I felt like in particular Prayers for Rain sounds killer on that. It's so good that when he holds out the long note at the end there, it's just like really can feel it in his vocals on all of them, but that one in particular, and the song Disintegration too, when he's just blasting through the part where it sounds like he's about to hyperventilate and pass out, but it just really feel the passion in his voice. And those Close Down sounds really tight live. So yeah, so it's just them kicking in on all cylinders, as they say, and definitely worth checking out. It was a weird one as a kid. I didn't really have it either. I remember Donald got an import version of it, I guess. I just copied off him, and I never really had any desire to get it all out of it, because the catch was that most of them were also released as the live tracks on the singles. So if you bought like the CD single for Pictures of You, it had like 3 of them on that, and then like 2 more were on the Lullaby CD single. So you pretty much, and considering they left a few off of Entreat even, I think there was only like 2 on Entreat, like a live version of Fascination Street or something, that definitely there was no shortage of that around that time, where you could find, even pre-internet days, it was pretty easy to track down bootlegs and stuff like that. That was starting to get into that time frame too, of those Italian import bootlegs and stuff. I don't know if all record stores had those, but by the 90s and in particular, you could like pay some absurd amount for some like fairly crappy quality bootleg, and I had a ton of Cure ones like that, and yeah. So Entreat is probably the best one out of all these live albums, just because the songs are so good and they're just really killing it at that point in their career. So yeah, but I mean, it is a little more narrow because it's all just Disintegration. There's no a lot of times live albums like the double is best ofs too, like a good way to just kind of do a retrospective of their whole career and just different cool versions. So it kind of lacks in that regards. If you want to hear Disintegration, a lot of times you just put on Disintegration. But just listening back to these today, to get some fresh ideas in my head, I was surprised how much I loved it. I was digging it. I was like, oh man, I forgot. Yeah, these are just killing it. Every little guitar part was just nailing it. And there's so many cool little intricate parts, like I said. So moving on from Entreat, then we have 92. These are the two main ones I think that everybody knows when you think of live Cure albums. For the Wish tour, they put out Show. And these were put out in the same month, in October of 92. Show came out, and then another album called Paris. And I thought it was cool in particular. If anyone isn't familiar with the way, or at least how it was when it passed through our town, they played 2 nights in the DC area. And I think I talked about this in one of the earlier episodes. But we had tickets for one of the nights, one of the 2 nights. And I saw the show, and it was pretty much Show, the DVD, or the VHS, and the soundtrack here. Where it's basically Wish with greatest hits sprinkled into it, which is amazing set. Some of these are arguably, if not better than the albums too. There's so many good ones on here, and just, having those greatest hits sprinkled around the highlights of Wish make for an amazing album. I was listening to this today too, and surprised at how just fucking killing it they were. Just that lineup, I think this is their golden era for sure. Main highlight of Show for me is a Night Like This. Just sounds so much better without that sax solo, and Porl's just tearing it up with his guitar solos on these. Even doing the Unstuck, I didn't realize how much he was just friggin' shredding it and doing all kinds of cool wall of sound stuff on From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea and Never Enough. Like, he's just laying it out there. The live version of Just Like Heaven too on this one is amazing. So but the cool thing was, going back to the 2 nights that we saw them, the first night was Show, and the second night, basically, I had friends that went to that one, and they came back. I was thinking they'd just do the same set pretty much, but they played a whole weird set for the second night, which really killed me, because I was like, oh, I should have gone to both. But they played a lot of the darker stuff and earlier stuff. If you have Paris, and that's what Paris is. This was recorded in Paris, of course, but they kept the same formula, I guess, going. But Figurehead, 100 Years, Night Like This, or not a Night Like This, At Night, Play for Today, Apart, In Your House, Love Song, Catch, Letter to Elise, Dressing Up, Charlotte Sometimes, and Close to Me. So around that era, you weren't hearing At Night and In Your House very often. Even Catch was hard to get like a good quality live version of on something. So this was pretty cool because it was a little more deep cuts and a little darker, and just like a great companion live album to go with Show too. So that 1-2 punch is just like, oh man. So any like real Cure fan probably goes back and forth each day which one they like better. But yeah, pretty awesome. Cool idea, man. And then we wouldn't have another live one until 2011. So good God, that's a lot of years. They put out some live DVDs and such in between then, but yeah, 2011, fairly recently, at the Bestival. Still not quite sure what all that is, but just some mega festival up in Toronto, I think, or somewhere in Canada. This one's weird, and I kind of griped about it, I think maybe in the very first episode we did, but just where I felt like the sound quality isn't really, it sounds a little bit more like a soundboard recording, where like the drums sound a little like, like, I don't know, it definitely doesn't sound like it has like the work put into it like Show and Entreat and stuff, but it's 2 discs worth and tons of cool songs on there. Just kind of spanning their whole career. Probably like a little bit more of what we're in for coming up on this tour, where it's just everything from, old ones, like, I don't know, there's a few rare ones, like Caterpillar is pretty cool. You don't hear that live very often. And Jumping Someone Else's Train, Grinding Halt is on there even. But then, it's got like The Only One and End of the World and Push, stuff like that. So it's just a great list of songs. And I dig it. And for how quick it popped up too, I think that kind of explains why it isn't super polished. Like the cover is just kind of like a shot of the crowd and looks a little bit like a bootleg almost, but it didn't get a huge push behind it or anything. So I think they kind of just put it together quick and put it out there, and I'll take it, instead of having to wait all these years or whatever, just if it just came together and they put it out, that works for me. So it's pretty cool. His voice sounds great on it. So it kind of just gives you a better perspective of what they sound like live now. So so I recommend that one if you just kind of want more of a greatest hits kind of best of live too. So it doesn't really capture the time period so much as like the Wish ones and Entreat and even Concert to a certain degree. But those are the official live ones. My favorite today I'm saying Entreat, but technically Show, just because it's closest to the set list of the first time I saw him in '92 for the Wish tour. That show's pretty hard to argue with how awesome that one sounds. And along those lines, I guess it's worth mentioning, like I said, a lot of live stuff was put out on DVDs and VHS tapes over the year. In Orange being probably the most favorite amongst fans, I'd say, for Head on the Door tour in '85. It might have been closer to '86 when In Orange came out, I guess. Show, I think, is the only one that really doubles up with the release of the audio and the actual video. So that one, and then there's a Cure Festival one, which is a later years one, which is really cool. And Trilogy too. That's like the mega must-have for Cure fans, where they play Pornography, Disintegration, and Blood Flowers, all really well done, and production's great on it. And you just put that on a quiet night, turn off all the lights. It's so good. You're right there with the Cure. So definitely check out that. And there's a lot of like I said, a lot of bootlegs out there. There's been EPs and like AOL sessions of live stuff. So there's tons of live stuff out there. So I was just kind of looking at the first, the four to five official live albums. So yeah, go check out some Cure live stuff to get pumped up for the live shows. And on top of that, I don't really have too much to share with you guys. If you think my opinions are way off, I'd love to hear what your favorite Cure live albums are, or live songs from those albums. Which ones you think may even be better than the originals on the actual albums. Any of that stuff, contact us in all the usual spots. On Instagram, we're the Holy Hour Podcast, where we post updates on new episodes, Cure pictures, and just little tidbits here and there. So feel free to contact us there. And there's a Facebook group page now where we will post the episodes and use the comment thread as a way where you can get in touch with us, and I can put supplemental material in there too. So I'll put a link to Arusha's Cure documentary that she's working on, and hopefully we'll get to hear more as that progresses too. Aside from that, just email any stories to me or anything that you need to get in touch with me. You can email me directly at Gavin Connor. The Connor part is Conner. So gavinconnor@gmail.com. And it should be on the iTunes page there. So while you're in iTunes, subscribe and leave us a comment, rank us, tell us that this is horrible, but tell us why. And that's always important. We'll take it all. So we'll see you at the shows. Like I said, I'll be at the Charlotte one with Donald and Matt, and we'll gonna still try to figure out ways to record some people. So if you want to meet up and do a quick talk for the episode, we're gonna record some pregame stuff before the show in Charlotte, And I'll also be at Atlanta, but with my lovely wife, so we'll just be hanging out at that one. So give me a shout. We'd love to cross paths, and love to hear your stories from the tour as it starts tomorrow. So everybody in New Orleans, consider yourselves the lucky ones. And we can't wait to hear how it goes. And treat them well, get them rolling on a good note, clap extra loud, and yeah, here we go. All the fun is just starting. So check back in a couple of weeks. We'll have a new episode for you and hopefully some new live updates. Thanks for listening. Talk hard.